The refugee camp on Lumis glowed with a soft amber light as dusk settled over the valley. Captain Elias Monroe wiped sweat from his brow as he finished calibrating the last of the medical scanners. 8 years of retirement hadn't dulled his precision or efficiency. His weathered hands, once used to grip plasma rifles and command tactical displays, now moved with gentle purpose among the delicate medical equipment. "Water, Father." Elias turned to see Rinny approaching, her slender blue form silhouetted against the setting twin suns. The young Tahlari girl held out a container of purified water, her large luminescent eyes blinking in the dying light. "Thank you, sweetheart." He took the container with a smile that softened his battle-scarred face. Even after 5 years, the word "father" from her lips still filled his chest with warmth. Rinny wasn't his by birth. She wasn't even human, but she had become his daughter in every way that mattered. He had found her during his final mission, the sole survivor of a Tahlari settlement that had been caught in the crossfire of planetary politics. The rest of her family had been killed, and something in her terrified eyes had awakened a protective instinct in Elias that he couldn't ignore. "Dr. Lin says we'll have 30 more refugees arriving before midnight." Rinny said, her voice carrying the musical cadence typical of her species. "She asked if you could help process their medical screenings." Elias nodded. "Of course. How are your studies coming along?" Rinny brightened. "I've finished the medical terminology module. Dr. Lin says I could start assistant training next month if..." She stopped, her large eyes darting to a group of local Lumis officials who were passing by, their chitinous faces turned deliberately away from the Tahlari section of the camp. Elias noticed her discomfort and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "If you want to, you will. Don't worry about them." The officials passed, but not before one of them muttered something about alien integration quotas and strain on local resources. Elias felt a familiar anger rise in his chest, but pushed it down. He had learned that in this post-military life, different battles required different weapons. Patience and persistence were often more effective than confrontation. "Come on," he said to Rinny. "Let's finish up here, and then we can have dinner." As they walked through the camp, Elias couldn't help but notice the increasing frequency of security patrols. Lumis was technically a neutral planet, existing on the borders between Earth-aligned systems and the more aggressive Dravari Dominion. The refugee situation had been escalating over the past year as the Dominion expanded its territories, displacing countless alien species, including the Tahlari. Tensions had been rising. The Interplanetary Senate, responsible for maintaining peace across hundreds of star systems, had issued statements of concern, but little actual assistance. Earth, still considered a young and somewhat brash member of the Alliance, had been pushing for more direct intervention, but the older established powers preferred diplomacy and non-interference. That night, as Elias tucked Rinny into her sleeping pod, she looked up at him with uncertainty in her luminous eyes. "Father, is it true what Maris said today, that the Dominion ships have been seen near the outer planets of this system?" Elias hesitated. Rinny was young, equivalent to about 12 Earth years, but she had already experienced more trauma than most adults. He had never lied to her. "There have been reports," he admitted, "but Lumis is well protected. It's a designated neutral zone under Senate protection. The same Senate that protected my homeworld." Her voice was quiet, but carried an edge that broke his heart. Elias sat down beside her pod. "Rinny, I promise you this, no matter what happens, I will keep you safe. I've faced worse than the Dominion in my time." She smiled at that, some of the worry leaving her face. "Tell me about Earth again, about the oceans." So he did, describing the vast blue waters of his home planet. The sound of waves crashing against rocky shores, the feel of sand between your toes. He spoke until her eyes grew heavy and her breathing became deep and regular. "Good night, little one," he whispered, activating the pod's night cycle. "Sweet dreams of oceans." Outside, he paused to look up at the unfamiliar stars. Somewhere out there was Earth continuing its rise as a significant power in galactic politics. He had served the United Human Forces proudly for decades, but in the end, he had chosen this quieter life. Still, he sometimes wondered what his son Noah was doing now. Last he'd heard, Noah had been promoted to command his own ship, the UHS Firebrand. The thought filled him with pride, though their relationship had been strained since Elias had chosen to adopt Rinny and live among the refugees rather than return to Earth for a comfortable retirement. He was drawn from his thoughts by a distant rumble. At first, he thought it might be an approaching storm, but when he looked to the horizon, he saw brief flashes of light cutting through the darkness. His military instincts immediately recognized what they were orbital entry signatures. Ships were coming down, and in numbers far greater than the usual supply runs. The camp's alert system hadn't activated yet, which meant either this was an authorized arrival, or more likely someone had disabled the early warning systems. Elias hurried back to the medical tent, where he kept a secure communication device. Before he could reach it, the night exploded with light and sound. Dropships tore through the atmosphere, their engines screaming as they descended directly toward the refugee camp. Elias recognized their design immediately. Dravari assault vessels. The camp had no defenses it wasn't supposed to need any on a neutral world. "Attention residents of Lumis," a voice boomed from the ship's external speakers. "By authority of the Dravari Dominion, we are conducting a security operation to apprehend fugitive elements hiding among you. Do not interfere, and you will not be harmed." Panic erupted throughout the camp. Elias ran back to Rinny's sleeping area, his mind racing. The Dominion had been growing increasingly aggressive, but an open violation of a neutral world was unprecedented. The implications were enormous, but right now, all he cared about was getting Rinny to safety. He found her already awake, standing trembling outside her pod, as other Tahlari refugees rushed around in confusion. "Father," she cried when she saw him. "Come with me," he said, taking her hand, quickly and quietly. They hadn't gone far when the first explosions hit. The Dominion wasn't simply conducting arrests, they were bombarding sections of the camp, specifically the sections housing non-human refugees. "They're targeting the Tahlari," Elias realized with horror. This wasn't a security operation, it was a cleansing. He pulled Rinny into the shadow of a storage facility as armored Dominion soldiers began to land and fan out through the camp. Screams and weapons fire filled the night. Elias's mind raced through options, his old tactical training kicking in. "The southern ridge," he whispered to Rinny. "If we can reach the caves there, we can hide until help arrives." "What about the others?" Rinny asked, her eyes wide with fear. "We'll send help back for them once you're safe," Elias promised, knowing even as he said it that for many it would be too late. They moved from shadow to shadow, Elias guiding them through the chaos. Twice they had to freeze in hiding as Dominion soldiers passed by, their armor gleaming in the fires that now burned throughout the camp. Elias felt naked without a weapon, but he had surrendered his military arms when he had retired. All he had now was his knowledge, his experience, and his absolute determination to protect his daughter. They had almost reached the edge of the camp when a spotlight caught them in its harsh glare. "Halt!" commanded a mechanical voice. "Identify yourselves." Elias pushed Rinny behind him, keeping his body between her and the approaching Dominion soldiers. "I am Captain Elias Monroe of Earth," he announced, hoping his former rank might carry some weight. "This is a peaceful refugee camp under Senate protection. Your presence here is a violation of interstellar law." The lead soldier stepped forward, his face hidden behind an opaque helmet. "Earth has no authority here, human. Stand aside. We're here for the alien fugitives." "There are no fugitives here," Elias replied, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his heart. "Only refugees seeking sanctuary, as is their right under the Galactic Accords." The soldier raised his weapon. "Final warning. Step away from the alien." Elias didn't move. "She's a child, my child." "Then you have chosen to die with alien filth," the soldier replied coldly. Everything seemed to slow down. Elias became aware of a small hovering object to his right, a news drone, its camera eye glowing red as it recorded the confrontation. These autonomous journalists were everywhere these days, programmed to seek out conflict and broadcast it across the interstellar network. In that moment, Elias made his decision. If he was going to die here, at least the galaxy would see what happened. Would see that a human stood with the persecuted, that a father protected his child regardless of species. As the soldier's weapon charged with a high-pitched whine, Elias turned and wrapped himself around Rinny, shielding her completely with his body. The blast hit him in the back. Searing pain tore through him as he collapsed to his knees, still holding Rinny. He could hear her screaming, feel her small hands pushing at him, trying to see his face. "Run," he whispered, feeling life draining from him even as more soldiers approached. "When I fall, run to the caves." "Father, no," Rinny sobbed. With the last of his strength, Elias looked into her eyes. "I love you, daughter," he said. Then darkness took him, and Captain Elias Monroe fell. Still his arms, locked around the alien child he had given his life to protect. The news drone captured it all. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings watched as a human died, protecting a child who was not of his species. They watched as Dominion soldiers, Dora, dragged the screaming Talari girl away from her father's body. And they watched as the refugee camp burned under the cold light of Lumis's moons. On Earth, the response was immediate and visceral. Public outrage exploded across social media platforms and news channels. Citizens took to the streets in major cities demanding action. The Interplanetary Senate, however, responded with carefully worded statements expressing deep concern and promises to investigate the incident thoroughly. For Earth's leadership, this wasn't enough. In a secure underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Major Leona Voss stood before a holographic display showing the footage from Lumis playing on repeat. Her dark skin seemed even darker, in the dim light her expression unreadable as she watched her former commanding officer die again and again. "How many times have you watched it?" asked Admiral Zhao, stepping into the room. "Not enough," Leona replied without turning. "I served under Captain Monroe for 6 years. He saved my life more times than I can count. And now," she gestured to the image frozen on the screen, Elias Monroe's body lying on alien soil. "The Senate is stalling," Admiral Zhao said. "They're afraid of starting an interstellar incident. The Dominion has already issued a statement claiming they were pursuing dangerous terrorists." "Terrorists?" Leona's voice was ice. "That girl was 12 years old. I've met her. Elias sent me pictures of her first day at the refugee school." Admiral Zhao was silent for a moment. Then, "The President has authorized Operation Judgment." Leona turned to face him, surprise evident on her features. "Judgment? But that's..." "Classified, untested, potentially an act of war." Zhao finished for her. "Yes, but the President believes the time has come to show the galaxy that Earth protects its own, and Elias Monroe was one of our own." "Who will lead the operation?" Leona asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "You will," Zhao confirmed. "You have 48 hours to assemble your team. The stealth carrier Judgment is being prepared as we speak." Leona nodded, her mind already calculating planning. "And what about the UHS Firebrand? Will Captain Noah Monroe be informed of his father's death?" "He already knows. The footage has been seen everywhere." Zhao's expression softened slightly. "But he's refused to participate in any retaliatory action. Says his father wouldn't have wanted it." "With all due respect, Admiral Noah doesn't know what his father would have wanted. They barely spoke in the last 5 years." Leona's voice was bitter. "Elias died protecting a child. I think he'd want us to protect all the children in that camp, and that means stopping the Dominion." "Perhaps," Zhao said. "But regardless, the Firebrand has been ordered to maintain its current patrol route. This operation will be covert. The Senate cannot know Earth is acting unilaterally." "Understood, sir." Leona saluted. I'll ready my team. As Admiral Zhao left, Leona turned back to the holographic display. She closed her eyes for a moment, remembering Elias Monroe as he had been in life, strong, principled, kind. The man who had taught her that true strength came from protecting others, not dominating them. "I'll make this right, Captain," she whispered to the empty room. "I promise." Meanwhile, aboard the UHS Firebrand, Captain Noah Monroe sat alone in his quarters, staring at the same footage that had captivated the galaxy. He had watched it 17 times now, each viewing like a knife to his heart. The last time he had spoken to his father had been nearly 2 years ago, a tense conversation that had ended with harsh words. Noah had disapproved of his father's decision to waste his retirement on an alien refugee camp. Elias had accused Noah of forgetting what the United Human Forces stood for: protection, not just of humans, but of all sentient beings who couldn't protect themselves. Now his father was dead, having died for those very principles, and Noah felt the weight of his own failure crushing down on him. A chime at his door pulled him from his thoughts. "Enter," he called. His executive officer, Commander Reyes, stepped in, his face grave. "Sir, I've just received new orders from Fleet Command. We're to maintain our current patrol route along the Epsilon sector." Noah frowned. "Even with what's happened on Lumis, that's less than 3 light-years from our position." "Yes, sir. The orders were explicit. We're not to deviate." Reyes hesitated. "There's talk that Earth is respecting the Senate's jurisdiction in this matter." "Jurisdiction?" Noah stood abruptly. "My father was murdered on camera while protecting a child. The Dominion violated a neutral world, and the Senate is talking about jurisdiction." "I'm sorry, sir. I know this is personal for you." Noah took a deep breath, reining in his anger. "Thank you, Commander. That will be all." After Reyes left, Noah turned back to the footage, freezing it on the image of his father wrapping himself around the Talari girl. In that moment of ultimate sacrifice, Elias Monroe had embodied everything the United Human Forces were supposed to stand for. And in refusing to act, in being ordered not to act, Noah felt he was betraying those same principles. His console chimed with an incoming transmission. Classified, direct from Earth. Noah activated it, surprised to see Major Leona Voss's face appear. He hadn't spoken to her in years, though he knew she had served under his father. "Noah," she said without preamble, "I don't have much time. I know your orders are to stay on patrol, but I want you to know that Elias will be avenged. Earth is not standing by." Noah straightened. "What do you mean, what's happening?" "I can't say more over this channel, but watch for the sign of judgment." Her expression was fierce. "Your father taught us both that protection sometimes requires action. Remember that." The transmission cut off before he could respond. Noah sat back, mind racing. Judgment. There were rumors about a Black Ops program with that code name, but nothing concrete. Was Earth planning a covert operation against the Dominion? He pulled up the galaxy map, studying the position of Lumis relative to known Dominion strongholds. If Earth was planning something, it would be focused there, and the Firebrand was ideally positioned to offer support or to interfere. Noah made his decision. He would follow orders for now, but he would also ensure that the Firebrand was ready to move at a moment's notice. Because Leona was right, his father had taught him that protection sometimes required action, and Noah was done with inaction. 46 hours after Elias Monroe's death, the Judgment operation began. The stealth carrier that gave the operation its name slipped through space undetected, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Dominion sensors. Aboard, Major Leona Voss briefed her team one final time. "Our objectives are precise," she told the assembled Special Forces soldiers. "We are not declaring war on the Dominion. We are executing a surgical strike against the specific units responsible for the Lumis massacre and their commanding officers." She displayed a holographic map of the Dominion forward base on Taraxis 4, highlighting key targets. Intel suggests that General Calvaris personally ordered the Lumis operation. He is currently at this command center preparing for what our sources indicate will be a larger push into neutral territory. A soldier raised her hand. Major, what about the Senate? Won't this action be seen as Earth going rogue? The Senate has had 5 days to respond meaningfully to a massacre broadcast live across the galaxy. Leona replied, They have chosen words over action. Earth has chosen differently. She looked around the room, meeting each soldier's eyes. If any of you have concerns about participating, speak now. Once we begin, there is no turning back. No one spoke. Every person in that room had seen the footage from Lumis. Many had served with Elias Monroe or knew others who had. This wasn't just a military operation, it was justice for one of their own. Very well, Leona said. We deploy in 30 minutes. Judgment will begin with precision orbital strikes on Dominion weapons platforms, followed by our ground insertion to secure hostages and capture General Calveras. If capture is not possible, elimination is authorized. As the team prepared, Leona took a moment alone in her quarters. On her personal device was a photo of herself with Elias Monroe taken after a particularly difficult mission years ago. Both were younger, less burdened by the weight of their responsibilities. This one's for you, Captain, she whispered, touching the image briefly before securing the device and heading to the deployment bay. The Judgment struck with devastating precision. Orbital lasers destroyed Dominion defense systems before they could even register an attack. Dropships carrying Leona's team penetrated the atmosphere during the confusion, landing directly on the compound housing General Calveras and his command staff. The Dominion, accustomed to being the aggressor, found themselves unprepared for the ferocity and efficiency of the Earth assault. Dominion soldiers fell before they could mount an effective defense. Those who surrendered were secured as prisoners. Those who resisted met a swift end. Through it all, Leona led from the front, her movements efficient and precise. This wasn't a battle fueled by rage. It was a calculated operation, executed with cold determination, justice not vengeance. That distinction mattered to her, as it would have to Elias. Meanwhile, aboard the UHS Firebrand, Noah Monroe was receiving reports of the attack. Despite the stealth technology employed by Judgment, such an operation couldn't remain completely hidden. Dominion distress calls were flooding the emergency channels, and the Senate was in an uproar. Sir Commander Reyes reported, Fleet Command is ordering all ships to maintain position. There are rumors that Earth has launched an unauthorized strike against the Dominion. Noah studied the tactical display. The Firebrand was the closest Earth vessel to the action, just one jump away. If they diverted now, they could reach Taraxis 4 in less than an hour. Send a message to Fleet Command, Noah ordered. Inform them that we've detected a potential Dominion fleet mobilization near our position and are moving to investigate. Reyes looked uncertain. Sir, that would be a direct violation of our orders. Note your objection in the log, Commander, but prepare for jump to Taraxis 4. Noah stood from his captain's chair. If Earth is taking action, the Firebrand will be there to support it. As the Firebrand prepared to jump, Noah retreated to his ready room. He pulled up the footage of his father's death one more time, watching as Elias wrapped himself around Rinny, taking the fatal blast meant for her. In that moment, Noah understood what he had failed to see before. His father hadn't wasted his retirement. He had found purpose in protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. It was the same purpose that had driven his military career, just expressed in a different way. Noah had joined the United Human Forces to follow in his father's footsteps. Now it was time to truly honor that legacy. Jump complete, Captain. Reyes announced over the comm. We've arrived at Taraxis 4. Sensors are detecting weapons fire consistent with a major engagement. On my way, Noah replied, squaring his shoulders as he headed back to the bridge. The scene that greeted him on the main view screen was one of controlled chaos. The Judgment carrier was now visible. Its cloaking apparently disabled either by choice or by damage. It was engaged with 2 Dominion cruisers, while smaller craft darted between them. Open a channel to the Earth vessel, Noah ordered. After a moment, Major Leona Voss's face appeared on screen, her expression surprised. Captain Monroe? I wasn't expecting to see the firebrand here. We received distress calls, Noah said, maintaining the fiction for any who might be monitoring. What's your situation, Major? Leona caught on quickly. We've completed our primary mission objectives, but are facing resistance during extraction. General Kelvaris managed to call in reinforcements before we could secure him. Where is he now? Barricaded in a bunker beneath the main compound with what's left of his command staff. We've lost 3 people trying to breach it. Noah made a quick decision. Hold your position, Major. The firebrand will provide cover while I lead a team to assist with the extraction. That's not necessary, Captain. It is to me. Noah cut her off. This operation is about justice for my father. I should be part of it. After a brief hesitation, Leona nodded. Understood. We'll transmit the bunker coordinates. But be advised, Captain, we have reason to believe Kelvaris is holding survivors from Lumis as hostages. Noah's heart clenched. Talari survivors? Yes, including one young female who matches Rinnie's description. The revelation hit Noah like a physical blow. His father's adopted daughter, the child he had died protecting, might still be alive, and in the hands of the man who had ordered her father's death. Prepare a strike team, Noah ordered Reyes. I want our best combat personnel ready to drop in 5 minutes. As the firebrand moved into position, providing covering fire against the Dominion reinforcements, Noah led his team to the dropships. For the first time in years, he felt absolute clarity of purpose. This wasn't about his career, or Earth politics, or his complicated relationship with his father. This was about completing what Elias had started, protecting a child who couldn't protect herself. The drop to the surface was rough, with Dominion anti-aircraft fire making the approach treacherous. Noah's pilot managed to get them within half a kilometer of the compound before they had to abandon the craft and proceed on foot. They linked up with Leona's team at the compound perimeter. Many of her soldiers were wounded, having fought their way through the initial Dominion defenses. The bunker entrance is there. Leona pointed to a reinforced structure with blast doors. We've tried explosives, but the shielding is too strong, and we can't risk an orbital strike with hostages inside. Noah studied the structure. What about the environmental systems? Every bunker needs air. Leona's eyes widened slightly. We identified ventilation shafts, but they're too narrow for a person to enter. But not too narrow for drones, Noah said. We carry reconnaissance microdrones on the firebrand. They could navigate the ventilation system, locate Kelvaris and the hostages, and potentially disable the bunker's shield generators from within. That could work, Leona agreed. But even with the shields down, we'd still have to breach the doors against armed resistance. One problem at a time, Major. Noah activated his comm. Reyes. I need a squadron of recon drones dropped to our position immediately. While they waited for the drones, Noah and Leona took cover behind a section of collapsed wall. Sporadic fire from Dominion snipers still peppered their position. Your father would be proud, Leona said suddenly. He always spoke highly of you, you know. Even after I told him he was throwing his life away, Noah finished bitterly. I doubt that. You didn't understand his choices, Leona said, but he understood yours. He told me Mima once that you were the best of him, his commitment to duty without his tendency to question orders. Noah was silent for a moment, absorbing her words. I always thought that was what made a good officer, following orders, maintaining the chain of command. It does most of the time, Leona agreed. But your father believed there were higher principles than orders. That's why he saved Rinnie. That's why he died protecting her. Before Noah could respond, a small pod landed nearby containing the requested drones. Together they programmed the tiny machines with their mission parameters, locate hostages, identify Kelvaris, and disable shield generators if possible. As the drones disappeared into a ventilation shaft, Noah turned back to Leona. Tell me about Rinnie. What was she like? A soft smile touched Leona's lips. Curious, brilliant, always asking questions about Earth and humans. Elias was teaching her to play chess when I visited last year. She was already beating him sometimes. The image of his father playing chess with an alien child was oddly affecting. Noah had never seen that side of Elias, the patient mentor, the loving father to a child not his own. The drones began transmitting data to their tactical displays. Images from inside the bunker showed approximately 20 Dominion soldiers, along with 5 Tahlari prisoners huddled in a corner. One was unmistakably Rini, her distinctive blue skin and large eyes immediately recognizable from the footage of Elias's death. And pacing before them, gesturing angrily as he spoke into a communication device, was a tall, severe-looking Dravari with elaborate rank insignia on his armor. "General Kelvaris," Leona confirmed. "The drones have located the shield generators in a side chamber. We could have them disabled in minutes." Noah studied the layout of the bunker, calculating angles, positions, risks. "If we breach here," he indicated a point on the display, "we'll have the best shot at neutralizing the Dominion forces before they can harm the hostages." "Agreed," Leona said. "I'll have my team prepare breaching charges." As they moved into position, Noah felt a strange calm settle over him. Whatever happened next, he was where he needed to be, doing what his father would have wanted, fighting to protect the innocent, not just following orders. The drones completed their sabotage mission, and the bunker's shields flickered and died. Immediately, Leona's team planted breaching charges on the blast doors. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The explosion ripped the doors apart, and Earth forces poured through the opening, Noah and Leona at the forefront. The next few minutes were chaos weapons fire, shouted commands, the crash of bodies hitting the floor. When the smoke cleared, most of the Dominion soldiers lay dead or wounded. The Tahlari hostages were unharmed, huddled behind the protection of Earth troops. And there, backed against the far wall with nowhere left to run, stood General Kelvaris, his weapon trained on Rini's head. "Stay back," he snarled. "One more step and the alien dies." Noah raised his hand, signaling his troops to hold position. He removed his helmet, wanting Kelvaris to see his face. "It's over, General. Your forces are defeated. Your base is under Earth control." Kelvaris laughed a harsh sound. "And what does that accomplish? The Dominion spans 50 systems. This is but one outpost. We will return stronger than before." "Perhaps," Noah acknowledged, "but you won't be there to see it. You think killing me will change anything? There are 1,000 others ready to take my place." Noah stepped forward, his weapon lowered. "I'm not going to kill you, General. That would be too easy." Confusion flickered across Kelvaris's face. "Then what is this? What do you want?" "Justice," Noah said simply. "You murdered my father, Captain Elias Monroe, on Lumis 5 days ago. You ordered your troops to fire on unarmed refugees. You violated a neutral world protected by Senate decree. Your father died protecting alien filth." Kelvaris spat. "A disgrace to his species." Noah took another step forward. "My father died a hero, and you will face justice for his murder and for all the others. Not Earth justice, not Dominion justice, the justice of the Senate and all aligned worlds." He could see Leona's surprise at his words. She had expected, perhaps even wanted him to execute Kelvaris where he stood. It would have been justified by military standards, but something in Noah rebelled against the idea. Killing Kelvaris might satisfy a thirst for revenge, but it wouldn't honor Elias's memory. His father had died protecting life, not taking it. "Lower your weapon," Noah said, his voice calm but commanding. "Face trial for your crimes. Let the galaxy see what the Dominion truly stands for and what they stand against." For a long moment, Kelvaris seemed to consider his options. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed again. "You humans, so confident in your moral superiority." He pressed his weapon harder against Rini's head. "I think I'll take this one with me as a parting gift." Noah reacted without thinking. He lunged forward faster than Kelvaris could track, knocking the general's arm upward just as he fired. The shot went wild, hitting the ceiling. Noah's momentum carried them both to the ground, the general's weapon skittering across the floor. In seconds, Noah had Calvaris pinned, his own sidearm pressed against the general's throat. The urge to pull the trigger was almost overwhelming. This was the being responsible for his father's death for so much suffering. "Do it," Calvaris hissed. "Prove that humans are just as savage as the rest of us." Noah's finger tightened on the trigger. One slight movement, and it would be done. Justice of a sort. Then he felt a small hand on his arm. He turned to see Rinny standing beside him, her large eyes fixed on his face. "You look like him," she said softly. "Like my father." The simple words broke through the haze of anger. Noah lowered his weapon and rose to his feet, pulling Calvaris up with him. "Secure the prisoner," he ordered one of his soldiers. "He's to be transported to Earth for trial." As Calvaris was led away, Noah knelt before Rinny. "I'm Noah," he said. "Elias was my father too." Recognition dawned in her eyes. "He spoke of you. He had your picture." "I'm sorry I never came to visit," Noah said, feeling the weight of years of missed opportunities. "I didn't understand what he was doing, why it was so important to him. He protected me." Rinny said, her voice small but steady. "Now you protected me too." Noah felt his eyes burn with unshed tears. "Yes, and I'll continue to protect you if you'll let me. Your family." The word felt right as he said it. Family. Not by blood, not even by species, but by something deeper, by choice and commitment and love. As Earth forces secured the compound and prepared for extraction, Noah received a transmission from the firebrand. Commander Reyes' face appeared on his comm device. "Captain, you need to be aware the Senate has called an emergency session. They're demanding an explanation for Earth's unilateral military action. Admiral Zhao is requesting your immediate return to the firebrand to join the transmission." Noah looked to Leona, who had overheard. "The Senate is about to get more than they bargained for," she said with a grim smile. "We found something in Calvaris's personal files. Data cubes containing communications between him and several high-ranking Senate officials. It seems the Dominion's expansion has had quiet support from certain parties who benefit from the stability they provide." The implications were staggering. If Senate officials had been complicit in the Dominion's actions, even tacitly, it would shake the foundation of the interstellar political system. "Bring the data," Noah told her. "It's time for the truth to come to light." Hours later, Noah stood beside Admiral Zhao on the bridge of the firebrand as they faced the holographic images of the Senate's Leadership Council. The admirals and politicians of Earth's government stood behind them in a show of unity. The Senate President, a dignified being from an ancient spacefaring race, spoke first. "Captain Monroe, Major Voss, Admiral Zhao. Earth stands accused of violating Senate directives by launching an unauthorized military action against the Dravari Dominion. How do you respond to these charges?" Admiral Zhao stepped forward. "With evidence, Senate President." He nodded to Leona, who activated the data transmission. The contents of Calvaris's files appeared in the center of the Senate chamber for all to see. Communications, financial transactions, secret agreements, all pointing to collusion between Dominion leadership and key Senate officials. Outrage erupted immediately. Senators shouted accusations and denials. Several of those implicated tried to leave the chamber only to find their exits blocked by Senate security. Through it all, Noah remained silent, watching as the truth he had helped uncover tore through the illusion of interstellar unity and peace. It was painful, but necessary. Like lancing a wound to remove the poison within. When the initial chaos subsided, Noah stepped forward. "Members of the Senate," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. 5 days ago, my father, Captain Elias Monroe, was murdered on Lumis while protecting a child from Dominion soldiers. His death was broadcast across the galaxy, yet this body did nothing but issue statements of concern. He paused, letting his words sink in. Earth acted because you would not. We captured General Calvaris and uncovered evidence of corruption reaching into the highest levels of government. But this isn't about politics or power. It's about a simple truth my father understood, that protection sometimes requires action, that words without deeds are meaningless, that justice delayed is justice denied. The chamber had fallen completely silent. Even those who had been shouting moments before were listening now. The united human forces, indeed all of Earth, stand for one principle above all others, that every sentient being deserves protection from tyranny and persecution. My father died upholding that principle. I ask that his death not be in vain. Let it be a catalyst for change, for a new era of genuine justice and protection for all beings, regardless of species or origin. One by one, representatives from other worlds began to stand in support. Not just Earth's traditional allies, but independents, and even some former Dominion sympathizers. The corruption exposed by Calveris's files had shaken many to their core, making them reevaluate their positions. The Senate President visibly moved, addressed Noah directly. "Captain Monroe, your words honor your father's memory. The Senate acknowledges Earth's actions and the evidence presented. Those implicated will face investigation and trial, and we will review our policies regarding intervention in cases of clear humanitarian crisis." It wasn't everything Noah had hoped for, but it was a start. A crack in the facade of bureaucracy and political maneuvering that had allowed atrocities to go unpunished. The aftermath of what became known as the Judgment Operation unfolded over the following months. Trials were held for Calveris and the corrupt Senate officials. Relief efforts were launched for the refugees of Lumis and other worlds affected by Dominion aggression. Rini was granted honorary Earth citizenship, the first of her kind to receive such recognition. She became a symbol of the new relationship between humans and aliens, a living testament to Elias Monroe's belief in protection across species boundaries. Noah was offered a promotion to admiral for his role in the operation, but he declined. Instead, he requested reassignment to oversee a new training program for United Human Forces personnel, one that emphasized ethical decision-making and cross-species protection protocols. The Monroe Doctrine, as it came to be known, revolutionized how Earth's military approached its role in interstellar affairs. The stealth carrier Judgment returned to its secret berth beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean. No official acknowledgement of its existence was ever made, but stories of its appearance during the operation spread throughout the galaxy. A phantom ship bringing swift justice to those who thought themselves beyond reach. Leona Voss continued her career in special operations, eventually taking command of a new task force dedicated to preventing atrocities before they occurred. She maintained a close friendship with Noah and visited Rini regularly, becoming something of an aunt to the young Tahlari. And on Lumis, at the site where Elias Monroe fell, a small monument was erected. It bore no grand inscriptions, no elaborate epitaphs, just a simple holographic image of a human embracing an alien child, and beneath it, a few words. One human died protecting a child not of his species. Through this act, he reminded us all what it truly means to be human. The galaxy continued to evolve. Politics shifted, alliances formed and dissolved, new challenges arose. But something fundamental had changed in the wake of Elias Monroe's sacrifice and Earth's response. A new understanding had emerged that justice was not merely a concept to be discussed in Senate chambers, but a principle to be defended with action when necessary. On the anniversary of his father's death, Noah took Rini to Earth for the first time. They stood together on a beach in California, watching the waves crash against the shore, just as Elias had described to her all those nights on Lumis. "Do you think he would be proud?" Noah asked, as they walked along the sand. "Of what we've accomplished since he's been gone." Rini, taller now, but still unmistakably the child from the footage, considered the question seriously. "He wouldn't care about the politics or the changes in the Senate," she said finally. "He would care that we're here together, that his family found each other." Noah nodded, realizing she was right. Elias Monroe hadn't died to change galactic politics or expose corruption. He had died protecting someone he loved. Everything else had flowed from that one pure act of sacrifice. I miss him, Noah admitted, every day. Me too, Rinny said, slipping her hand into his as they walked. But he's still with us. In the way we try to live. In the choices we make. Above them, Earth's sky darkened as day gave way to evening. Stars appeared, thousands of them, each potentially home to beings as different from humans as Rinny was yet connected by the same fundamental needs and rights. Noah looked up at those stars and felt for the first time since his father's death, a sense of peace. Elias had died, but what he stood for lived on in Noah and Rinny, in the changes they had helped bring about. One human had died protecting a child, and in doing so, had reminded an entire galaxy what justice truly meant.